job, mate. Really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who'll be fronting the grid. Walker, Russell and Max Verstappen. With qualifying wrapped up now, we have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
So, unfortunately, we've picked up some grid penalties and we'll be starting further back than you expect. As for how bad it is, that will depend on what the other drivers get.
It's wet here today and we're expecting those downpours to continue. This will make for a difficult sprint for all the teams. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Walker lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Perez, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Bottas, and Daniel Ricciardo, Magnussen, Ocon, Mick Schumacher and Stroll, Albon, Gasly, Sebastian Vettel and Yuki Tsunoda, Latifi and Guan Yu Zhou. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Okay, we've already won the championship, so just relax and go and enjoy this race. You deserve it. off a bit, but the track is still going to be wet for a while. Be careful. Laps of fuel remaining. Great work, that's a new fastest lap of the race. That was the fastest lap of the race so far. go, mate. Unbelievable work.
So then, Ferrari have now moved out of sight and out of reach. It's another triumph for the Italian team as they claim the World Constructors' Championship. Meanwhile, good work from Aston Martin this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Well, that wraps up the sprint. All that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
So, unfortunately, we've picked up some grid penalties and we'll be starting further back than you expect. As for how bad it is, that'll depend on what the other drivers get.
Welcome along then to where heroes and history are made. It's where the 2008 title was decided in the very final corner. And just 1 year later, Jenson Button stormed through from 14th on the grid to claim his one and only Drivers' Championship. It's time then for the São Paulo Grand Prix. Interlagos, always a very special race here in Brazil. It's a 2.7 mile circuit with 9 lefts and 6 rights for a total of 15 corners. The fastest lap today should have an average speed of around 135 miles per hour, if, of course, the weather stays dry until the end of the Grand Prix. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Perez, Walker, Fernando Alonso and Norris, Ricciardo, Bottas, Ocon and Mick Schumacher, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Lance Stroll and Hamilton. They've taken a grid penalty. Albon, Gasly, Sebastian Vettel and Nicholas Latifi. Joe, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Max Verstappen completes the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Good job. DRS will be enabled this lap. You can use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone. Fastest lap of the race. Keep this up. Well done. And you're going to be on mediums. Gap to your teammate behind is 4.6 seconds.
we go, no problems, really smooth. Ferrari, no doubt, very happy with that stop.
That was our last stop. No more. Are you okay? That was a nasty hit. Turn the engine off and wait for the marshals.
The Mercedes team pulled out a fantastic performance today. They should be proud. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I think the key here is just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners. This result then narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Well, for me it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. The multiple world champion may be the boring choice at this point, but you can't argue that he's a driver deserving of his reputation.
The Constructors' Championship may be a foregone conclusion at the moment, but regardless, let's look at the standings. So then, Ferrari have now moved out of sight and out of reach. It's another triumph for the Italian team as they claim the World Constructors' Championship. Meanwhile, good work from Aston Martin this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action, and I can't wait to see what's next.